Hello, everyone, and we are back to go in detail on the interview that Lionel Messi has given to Goal.com. First of all, congratulations to Goal.com and to Ren Uria, top journalist that has managed to open up the doors in the most difficult of times. And it is an interview that goes a lot in detail on what has happened in the last season and what has meant or why Messi has decided to stay, having decided previously to leave. Let me just, this would be a bit better. I'm just going to put, should have done this earlier, but you know, the live television for you, live YouTube television, if that's what it's called. So there's a lot of detail in that interview, and I think we should go through it. I'm going to translate it. A lot of it will be new to me because I've read it very, very quickly, and I decided that instead of reading it again and try to read between the lines and get some of the stories that have come out from the conversation, I'll actually do that with you. So, should we do that? As I say, a lot of the stuff that Messi says to Ruben, it comes from frustration and anger. But I think we should just go into it. All right. First question: why did it take you so long to talk? And the answer was first because after the defeat in Lisboa against Bayern, of course, it was really hard. We knew it was a difficult rival, but we didn't know that it was going to finish that way, given that such a poor image for the club and for Barcelona fans. It was a really, really poor image. I felt so bad, I didn't want anything. I wanted time to go on and then eventually explain it. He always said, now this is me talking, he always said that he would talk at the right time. And we know that when frustrations and disappointments are very big in the life of Lionel Messi, he goes in a dark place where he just sees the end of everything. He's left the national side a couple of times. Before doing that, he actually was thinking of doing it previously. Eventually, that didn't come out public. I mentioned it in my biography of him, but that was festering something. Eventually, twice he said he was leaving, and he came back. So you can notice in those words that he's actually talking from the heart and talking from a dark place, if you like. I remember early in his career, a defeat for him would be a little death, and he will spend 2 or 3 days not talking even to his mom, as Pep Guardiola used to say. So after the defeat, you couldn't talk to him. You just had to let him be. With his kids, he's learned to be a little bit more mature, if you like, that every defeat is not the end of the world, but still feels he's so competitive that he still feels if something are not going the right way, then a dark frustration comes over him, and you sensed that in the first question. Second question: why did you tell Barcelona that you wanted to leave? And his answer: I told the club, and especially the president, that I wanted to leave. I've been telling him all year round. This is important. I thought it was a moment to just give a step aside. I thought the club needed younger people, new people, and I thought that my era at Barcelona had finished. And I felt really sorry about that because I always said that I wanted to finish my career here. It was a very complicated year. This is important too. I suffered a lot in trainings, in matches, in the changing room. Everything was very difficult. And it got to a moment where I decided to look for new targets, for new air. It wasn't down to the result against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. I had been thinking about this for a long time, and I told the president. And okay, president always said that at the end of the season, I could decide if I wanted to go or if I wanted to stay. And finally, he did not cumplir su palabra. He did not keep his word. He did not keep his word. He did not keep his word. He didn't keep his word. Messi is saying that Bartomeu, the president, did not keep his word. What is he saying here? One, that he had lost all and it happens to players, especially at the end of their career sometimes, lost all patience with the club or lost all passion for the club, and he felt that they weren't progressing. Remember, he's 33, his career is actually finishing, and there's two things that are a little bit, if you like, contradictory here. On one hand, he says, look, I felt that perhaps my time was gone, that I had to go somewhere else, that I have to move on. But on another, he was saying it was a year in which it was very complicated for me, that I suffered a lot in training. And it was about also trying to look for new objectives in life. So he decided to leave because there was all those things playing with his mind and making him not enjoying himself. So remember, Leo Messi was not enjoying his football, and he tells the president, and he's been telling him for a year. Then he feels that when the president says, don't worry, at the end of the season you can go or stay. He thought, okay, I'll decide then. We're talking about the spirit of the law here, because by contract he should have said it the 10th of June, but he talks about that later. Basically, the mind frame at this point was that he was not enjoying his football. He needed a change, and he told the club. This is somebody desperate to leave. And this is somebody that trusted the word of the president that said, you can leave if you want at the end of the season, right? Question from Ruben Uria. Have you felt that you were on your own? The answer, no, I didn't feel on my own. On my side, I've had always my people. That was enough, and that makes me strong. But yes, I felt hard for a lot of things I've heard from people, from journalists, from people that doubted my love for the club, saying things that I thought I didn't deserve. It also helped me realize who is who. In this football world, I know it's very difficult to differentiate who is who, and there are a lot of false people. What's happened now has helped me recognize a lot of false people that I thought of them differently. It hurt me when people put in doubt my love for the club. And even if I go or stay, eventually my love for Barcelona will not change forever. Now here, what he's saying quite clearly is that he went through a process that we described in which he was thinking, I'm actually not enjoying this. When he put that out there in a burofax, in a recorded delivery, the reaction surprised him of a lot of people. Surprised him and made him realize that some people that thought they were friendly to him or tried to understand him, they stopped doing so. He's describing the industry. He's actually telling you that a lot of work that's been put in media, it's done with the idea of shock, of gain followers, of defending one position, on being on the extreme. And he felt perhaps that he had a relationship with the media in which they will try to understand where he came from, but a lot of people didn't do that. In the last few days, quite clearly, people have taken sides, and taking sides that have been gathering momentum, both sides. So you got a lot of people saying he deserves to go. He's given enough to Barcelona, but he became a minority at the end, because mostly were saying if he goes, money. And that was actually surprising how many people forgot what Messi has given to the club for 20 years. And it sounds like he was very hurt by it. Of course, he's got love for the club. He insists on the love for the club, and he doesn't insist so much. In fact, he does say that the president went back on his word. So it's the people at the club that he's not happy with. And there's more on that later. Next question. From Ruben Uria was, we've heard about everything. This was all about money, about the friends of Messi. I imagine Ruben is mentioning here that, depending what happens with Luis Suarez or how Luis Suarez was treated, it will affect the decision of Messi. I'll tell you the news that I broke today in the BBC about Luis Suarez in a minute. But what is it that has hurt you more after 20 years defending the Barcelona shirt? Just quickly. Luis Suarez has got an agreement with Juventus. Player with Italian club. Now, Luis Suarez is trying to reach an agreement with Barcelona. He's got a year plus a year contract, a year that says that if he plays 60% of games, I'm talking about Luis Suarez now, 60% of games automatically will get renewed the second year. So Luis Suarez said to the club, right, pay me just 1 year and I'll leave. And it could be for free, or it could be for a minimum fee, a symbolic fee almost. So Barcelona can say that they didn't sell or they didn't get rid of Luis Suarez for free. That's what we stand. But Luis Suarez has got an agreement with Juventus. And that has nothing, what has happened and the fact that Ronald Koeman doesn't want Luis Suarez to stay has got no influence on Messi's decision. As you can see, he is staying. Messi is staying no matter what Suarez does next. This thing about this Messi having friends and doing things just because of his friends is a myth that has been growing through the years that I never believed. Now his answer. Remember, the question is, you've heard all kinds of things about the money, about your friends. What is it that has hurt you more after 20 years defending the Barcelona shirt? A little bit of everything, he says. Those things about my friends, about the money, a lot of things I've heard, things that have been said. I always put the club ahead of anything else. And I had the possibility of going to Barcelona many times. Money, every year I could have gone. I could have earned more money than in Barcelona. I always said that this is my home, and that's what I felt and still feel. Better than here, it's very difficult. I felt that I needed a change and new targets, new things. And why not? Why not? We all reach that point in life where you actually, this is me talking now, where you actually feel that you have something else to give and you don't want to play for certain people. You don't want to work for certain bosses. And that's what he's trying to say here. It's true that he's always had offers. I've been telling you all these last few days. And there hasn't been an offer from Manchester City, despite what everybody was saying, because Manchester City wanted to see if he was coming on, was leaving for free. And if he was leaving for free, they would have been able to pay the wages. But wages and a transfer fee would have been far too much for him, for City. Far too much for City. They couldn't have afforded that. That's what they insisted all along. And there is more why he's not leaving, of course. But certainly, as he says, he's put the club ahead of anything else. Because if he was thinking of himself, he would have left much earlier. There's been so much money being put in front of him, but he hasn't. So he feels that although he's mixing perhaps here some fans with other fans, directors with feelings, all together, he feels there is a side of what's happened that is really disappointing to him, because he felt that he had done enough for Barcelona for people to respect whatever decision he actually was taking or was going through, whatever thoughts were going through. And he probably hasn't felt that kind of respect on certain parts. I hope that he doesn't focus too much on that, because quite clearly a lot of people also have said you have to do whatever you have to do. Anyway, new question. At the end, Ruben is asking, at the end it's very difficult to to throw away 20 years, a whole life, a family that is in Barcelona, a city, and you wonder if that's what's the biggest weight when you take a decision. Because finally you stay at Barcelona, don't you? You will stay at Barcelona. Messi is answering. Of course, it took me a long while to decide. It is not just the result of Bayern, it's many things. I always said that I wanted to finish here, and I always said that I wanted to stay here, that I wanted a winning project, that I wanted to win titles with the club, to continue to increase the legend of Barcelona in relation to titles. And to be honest, there is a long time, be careful with these words, listen to this. To be honest, it's already a long time since it hasn't been a proper project at Barcelona or anything else. People are doing all kinds of malabares, Spanish word that suggests, you know, when you've got balls and you throw 3 or 4 balls up in the air and then you grab them and then you keep doing that. Malabares, that's what he's trying to say. He says more, and to cover holes as things were happening. So that's what he's saying, that as I always said, I always thought of de bienestar. I always thought juggling, that's the word. What the club has been doing is juggling things and hiding holes as things were happening, as bad things were happening. As I always said, I always thought first of my family and the club. So this is the yet another criticism, strong criticism to the club, that there is no project, because there are no project. What you actually get is without with fear to take decisions and with a clarity of what those decisions have to be, you get stuck. And that's where Barcelona are right now, stuck. And if he feels, and that's why he wanted to leave as well, he feels that they will continue to be stuck. And there is not much that he can do. So what will be interesting is what happens now, but we'll deal with this a little bit later. More questions. What happens when you tell your family that you may be leaving Barcelona? And the answer is very personal. When I told my wife and my kids, it was a big drama. All the family crying. My sons didn't want to leave Barcelona. They didn't want to change the school. I look further than that, and I want to compete at the maximum level. I want to win titles. I want to compete for the champions. You can win it or lose it because it's very, very difficult. But you have to compete. At least compete, and not to have to do or to leave what we lived at Roma, where Roma, as you remember, the second leg, 10 a game around, and qualified. Liverpool, semi-finals of the Champions League last season. Lisbon, what happened, of course, against Bayern Munich. All that made me think in that decision that eventually I did not do. Let's go back to the beginning, he says. I thought, and we were sure that I was free. The president always told me that at the end of the session, I could decide if I could stay or not. And now they're telling me that I should have decided on the 10th of June, when on the 10th of June, we were competing for the league in the middle of this virus, this shitty virus and this illness that changed all the dates. And that's the reason why I'm staying at the club. Now I'm going to continue the club because the president told me that the only way to actually leave is to pay the 700 million by a clause, and that's impossible. He told me that another way of leaving would be via a court case, and I will never go to court case against Barcelona, never, because it's the club that I love, the club that gave me everything since I arrived. It's the club of my life, and I've got here my life, and Barcelona gave me absolutely everything, and I gave everything to Barcelona. I never thought, it never crossed my mind to go to Barcelona, to take Barcelona to court. So this is somebody that wants to leave. He feels he's given enough to Barcelona. He feels that in the contract, the spirit of the contract says at the end of the season, you decide what you want to do. Words that the president has said. But of course, in the contract, it says that you have to leave or you have to say you want to leave before the 10th of June. In the middle of the season, when the season had not finished. And he thought, well, the spirit will continue because the president has told me, he said it publicly as well, I will leave then. And when he realizes that the president is not going to let him go, then he gets really mad because he thinks, but I thought we had some kind of verbal agreement. But not so, because the president of Barcelona doesn't want to be the man that actually goes in history as the one that let Messi go. So in the meeting that they had, Jorge Messi, his dad, and Bartomeu said, why don't you renew your contract and leave after the end of every season, of course. That at the moment has been rejected. But the idea was, don't leave now, and then I leave in March, there'll be elections. There'll be time, and that's what Bartomeu said as well to Jorge Messi, there'll be time from March until the end of the season to decide what to do. You may want to stay with the next chairman, who knows? You may, you may actually listen to all those proposals that has been from Inter, from Juventus, from PSG, and of course from Manchester City. Not offers, not one arrived, because everybody wanted to see if he was going to leave on a free. More questions. Is that what has hurt you more, that there are people that thought that you could have hurt Barcelona? You have defended the club for many years and you've been the flag of Barcelona. Has it hurt you that people had doubted of your Barcelona or love for the club? His answer. It's been very hurtful that so many things have been published against me, and especially false things, or that people thought that I could go to court against Barcelona to benefit myself. I will never do something like that. I repeat, I wanted to go, and I was in my right to go because contract said that I could be free. And it's not, I'm going and that's it. It was, I'm going, and it's really, really hard. But I wanted to go because I thought about being happy in my last years of football. I did not find happiness in the club lately. So you are keeping Barcelona, you're keeping a player that is not happy at the club, that doesn't want to be there, that he's not actually leaving, so he doesn't take you to court, Barcelona. And the impression that this gives me is that quite clearly he's not happy, quite clearly he would like a different solution to this, and quite clearly this may not be over. This is what I think. This may not be over. He's saying, I thought we had an agreement with the president. He's saying, I want to leave. He's saying, I'm not happy here. He's saying, I've given enough and the club has given me a lot. Not enough. I've given a lot to the club and the club has given me a lot. I just wonder if this is not the end. Because obviously, Ronald Koeman can change things and can convince him that he's at the right club and that all of a sudden all this unhappiness will disappear. But in a way, you're going to have to, Barcelona directors will celebrate the fact that they're keeping an unhappy guy in the club. So I just wonder if this is not the end. The question from Ruben. This is key, to be happy. You're a winner. You are in a team that fights for titles, and in the last few seasons, Barcelona have not competed in Europe. You are staying at Barcelona to lead the club, but something will have to change. Something will have to change at sporting level, no? His answer. I will continue in Barcelona and my attitude will not change, even though I've tried to leave. I'm gonna give my best. I always want to win. I am competitive and I don't like losing at anything. I always want the best for the club, for the changing room, and for me. I told this season that we did not have enough to win the Champions League. And to be honest, now I just don't know what will happen. There is a new coach, a new idea, that's good. But after that, we have to see how the team responds and if we're going to have enough or not to compete. All I can say is that I'm staying and I'm going to give everything. And that's what he has to say, isn't it? But yes, what kind of club is he going to have? A little bit of a transition happening here. Obviously, Luis Suarez, if he gets an agreement with Barcelona, will leave. They need a striker. Perhaps Lautaro Martinez, they got an agreement with him. He's a young Luis Suarez in a way. Coutinho stays, Griezmann, Dembele, maybe if he's fit now, obviously Ansu Fati, who looked so good with Spain yesterday against Germany. Pjanic, De Jong in midfield, with Koeman saying that he wants this to be the De Jong, a better De Jong that we've seen, the De Jong of the national side. They're going to need a centre-back. Piqué stays, of course, so does Jordi Alba. Ter Stegen, still a strong side. And a bit younger if you add Trincao, Araujo, the centre-back from the B side, Riqui Puig in midfield. Koeman will have to be brave enough to play them all, but anyway, that's the Barcelona that he's going to find. The question, next question is, what was the first thing that you thought when there were a lot of people that thought that you could go and that they commented they commented that you did not want to stay at Barcelona, and it was basically the same, that you didn't care that you weren't staying. What was the first thing that you thought? And the answer was, I felt a lot of hurt because of those people doubting my love for the club with everything. I'm so grateful that I am to the club. I love it, and I'm not going to be here better than, not going to be anywhere else better than I am in here. But I am in my right to decide. I wanted new objectives, new targets, new challenges. And I was going to come back anyway at the end, because in Barcelona I've got everything. And I think he's talking about the city here. My sons, my family, they all grew up here. They are from here. And there was nothing wrong with me leaving at this moment. I needed it. The club needed it. And it was good for everyone. So important this. Because actually, a lot of people that now are fighting for Barcelona to stay, for Messi to stay, wanted Messi to go. Why? Because his contract is huge. Some say 120, 130 million euros gross a year, and that's the money that they have to pay him every year. That's a lot for a club that will have a budget, the whole club, of about 700 million next season. So some, and I will include the president here, thought that it may be a good idea, they haven't mentioned this recently, but they have been saying all along, a good idea to start thinking of the post-Messi. That will mean getting rid of that wage and introduce new players with lower wage. It's just that it became then the last year of Bartomeu in charge, so that position was changed to protect the president. Not so much to protect the club, perhaps for the club it was also good. For a club that has been given 70% of his income to wages for the first team, to get rid of one of the big wages, if you think of it from the club. Quite clearly, Messi thought it would be a good idea for him, but for the club as well, for new blood, and to sort out finances that are very, very difficult. Everybody needed it, he says. I needed it, the club needed it, and it was good for everyone. But I think the personal agendas have been prioritized here, and not so much the bigger picture. More questions. The family is very important in your life. Your father has had a really bad time, so has your wife, your sons. What did they ask you? What have they said? Have they said to you, Dad this, or Dad do that, or don't do this? Did they watch the television? Did they ask you anything? And his answer is, all this time has been very hard for everyone. I had a clear idea of what I wanted. Everybody had assumed it. And my wife, with all the hurt in the world, was backing me up and was hand in hand with me in this. And the question next is, but the important one of the family is Mateo, the son, of course. And he laughs. Messi says, yes, Mateo is still very small and he doesn't realize what it means to leave somewhere else, to start a life in another place. Thiago, yes, he's the eldest. He listened to something on the television, found out something and was asking. He didn't want to know nothing about going. He had to find out a new school, new friends. He was crying and he was saying, no, let's not go. So I repeat, it was hard, really. You could understand it. It happened to me when I was a kid. It's very, very difficult to take a decision. And that goes back to everything that he went through as a kid when he actually had to leave as a 12-year-old, did the trial for Barcelona. Eventually Barcelona came back and said, yes, we definitely want you. Well, they said that at the end of the trial. It took 10 days to get a decision from Barcelona, but then it took months for actually them to come back and says, all right, come over now. So then after 6 months, I think he broke his leg. He had problems with bureaucracy, which meant that he couldn't play official games. His sister was in a school and didn't feel comfortable. One of his brothers wanted to go back because he had a girlfriend back in Rosario. The other brother, Rodrigo, wasn't sure what to do, but was happy to go back. So everybody left. When he was 13, he stayed with his dad and mom, and his two brothers and one sister went to Rosario. He never forgets that. It's a hard decision. But here was a family that, even though he heard them, they were willing to take a decision that would have taken 1 or 2 years, 2-3 years abroad. That was it, because they want to live in Barcelona at the end of his football career. More questions. It's normal. It's 20 years, Ruben Uria says. It's all a whole life here. You arrive at Barcelona when you had the age of your kids, and that makes it all harder. There are two fundamental things that people want to know. You stay at Barcelona. You want to lead a team, but what will be the positive message that you can send to Barcelona fans? The answer, as always, I'm going to give absolutely everything. We'll give everything for everybody to fight and for us to fight for the targets. Hopefully, we will fight for them, and hopefully we can dedicate those titles to the people that have spent a bad time. I had a bad year, but sorry, I had a bad year, but it's hypocritical to say that to compare that with the people that have really had a bad time with the virus, with people that have lost their relatives and have lost many things. I hope to give everything and dedicate victories to that people that suffered and are suffering, to those that are accompanying us from the sky and from their families, to dedicate them to all these people that are having a really bad time. And I hope that we can overcome all the difficulties that we are finding all over the world to overcome this virus and to go back to some kind of normality. So let me just see, hold on a second. So more questions. The famous burofax is the next question, and we're getting to the end of the interview. There's been a lot being said about that Messi has been badly advised and that decision to communicate that he wanted to leave by burofax, which really is recorded delivery. Why did you decide to send it, and why did you want to show with it? What was your position at that point? And he says, burofax was to make it official somehow, legal. During the whole year, I've been telling the president I wanted to go, and that it was time for me to look for new challenges, new challenges, a new direction in my career. He told me all the time, we will talk, this, that, we will talk, but nothing concrete. To say it somehow, President didn't take my position very seriously and didn't take what I was saying seriously enough. So by sending the burofax is to make official that I wanted to go and that I was going to be free, and the optional year, which is the year that starts now, was not going to use it, and he wanted to go. It was not to actually make a show and to go against the club. It was the way to make it official because my decision was taken. And at that point, it was final. This we've discussed in the past here as well. They didn't take him seriously in a way because Bartomeu is a president that doesn't like to take big decisions. Likes to let things go and pass by and hope that everything gets sorted eventually. So he was feeling and grew frustrated, and his dad as well, because there were no steps given by the club for him to leave. And remember, according to the way Messi understands the contract, there is no buyout clause. There's no buyout clause this season that starts. There was one last season, but not this season. Of course, Barcelona is saying there is, and La Liga has backed them up and says there is, but legally the Messis are thinking there isn't a buyout clause. The problem Messi feels is that if he goes, he can get he could have got a provisional transfer from FIFA. Not a problem, they do that. But then there is a court case that could have taken a long time, and he didn't, as he said, he didn't want to take Barcelona to court. But he is, sometimes legally you may be right, but it's difficult to put that in practice anyway. So he's decided that despite all the interest and despite having made the decision final, he decided that it was best to stay because the complications of the legal complications and the fact that he had to take the club that he loves to court, he was just making it definitely an impossible step. A step, I'm telling you, that his lawyers feel that they would have won, but a step that he did not want to take. Last question. If he hadn't sent the burofax, perhaps everything would have been forgotten and nobody would have heard what you were saying. And he says, of course, if I don't send the burofax, it's if nothing happens. That he would have looked at, I wanted to stay the extra year that I had in the contract. What they are telling me is that I didn't say it before the 10th of June. But I repeat, we were in the middle of all the competitions and it was not the moment to do that kind of thing. But the president always tell me, don't worry, when the season finishes, you decide if you want to stay or if you want to go. He never put it a date. And well, it was with the burofax a way of making official that I did not want to stay. But no, not with the idea of fighting, because I did not want to fight with the club. I think with this you have the whole story. There was a player, it is still a player that isn't happy. We will see. Coaches tend to say, you deal with it for 2-3 months within the season and eventually they forget. But a player that is not happy, still not happy, of course, but that he feels he's been forced to stay when he had decided to change and had convinced his family to do so. Not a small step. And right now, I wonder if this is the end of it, just because if he's actually saying all this publicly, if he's saying that the president basically was saying, you can leave at the end, no problem, don't worry, and hasn't let him, if he's saying that he needs another challenge in his life, if he says that he's actually suggesting that this year has been difficult because he couldn't find perhaps the motivation, all that are actually pointing out of somebody that will be difficult to convince he's in the right place. But that's the magic of the club, that they feel now obviously pressure taken off their shoulders, and they think, now it's a matter for the coach to sort it out, and I will allow Ronald Koeman to somehow control the situation and redirect it a little bit. So now he'll come back to training. He'll see that some of his friends have gone. In the case of Luis Suarez, in the past, that is always hard to accept. But as you can see, the fact that Luis Suarez leaves, if he eventually gets an agreement with Barcelona to leave, then it did have no influence in his future. So that's it. This is my last video on the Messi case, and some of you regulars will say, yeah, right, you said that before. I am trying to make it the last one because I need to write a book on Maradona. Which now he's, I think somebody mentioned it earlier, he's 15 now, so he's actually made his debut with the first team, so it's moving on. But he's, I have to take him to retirement age, and that means I need every single day. But today we have to deal with it, and I wanted to share it with you. The interview, I know it would have been difficult for you to get the English version and the totality of it. I'm sorry it's been such a long video, but I think now it's time to stop, as I say, to write the book. Remember, if you want to hear more from me and the things that I've been doing recently, interviews with Pep Guardiola and others, have a look at the Pure Football Podcast. The Pure Football Podcast. I think you'd like it if you like these kind of things that I'm offering you here. All right, that's it. I'll go now, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks for coming over, and talk soon. Bye.